Hello class, this is Professor Cuson again with another video that I've made for you, and this week I really want to focus on some lower order concerns. Okay, by this point you have completed your first draft and you may have already sent that draft to me, and as you are watching this, if you're watching this on Monday or Tuesday, then I'm grading over that paper. If it's Wednesday or after, you probably have your paper back. There are some things that I want to emphasize, and I don't want to do too much in one video, so you're probably going to get another video very similar to this one going over different concepts than tonight. But I do want to focus some attention on what I consider to be some lower order concerns. Okay, the last 2 weeks I focused heavily on the literacy narrative. 2 weeks ago I talked about just what is the literacy narrative, how you are putting it together. Last week I talked about literacy sponsors. This week we're talking about lower order concerns. Okay, so as we go into the next slide here, these are the lower order concerns. There's 4 of them that I want to go over and then talk about how to avoid lower order errors. So I'm a firm believer in the rule of 3 or 5. So that's why I'm going to kind of go over these 5 concepts over the course of this video today, starting with second person usage, going into starting sentences with conjunctions, comma splices, apostrophes, and then how to avoid lower order errors. So I want to give you an idea of what a lower order concern is. It is not having to do with content, but it has to do with any of the following: issues with vocabulary, when we talk about sentence structure, fragments, run-on sentences, awkward sentences, when we talk about grammar, punctuation, and MLA style. MLA style is a lower order concern. Now, I think that when students talk about and think about the kinds of errors that they make, they always frame it in terms of grammar. Okay, they always say, my grammar's bad, I need help with my grammar. Okay, but grammar is not a catch-all. There are different kinds of errors that you make that are not necessarily grammatically. That's not the kind of error that it is. Okay, a fragment is not necessarily a grammar error. To me, it's more of a sentence structure error. Okay, so that's why instead of saying grammar concerns, that's why I'm saying lower order concerns, so that I can put all these different categories in here. All right, let's talk about second person usage. This is an error that I see in a lot of first year writers. This is a very common kind of mistake, and it may be acceptable to write in this style in high school. And I'm not even saying that your high school teachers are wrong for allowing you to do this. Okay, but part of being a college student is sometimes having to adapt your writing and adapt the way that you write. Okay, in this class, I want you to avoid using you or your in your essays. That is what we mean by second person. Okay, saying you or your means that you are talking directly to me in your essays, and I do not want you to do that. Okay? But here's the important thing, and I'm going to say this over and over again, because I want this to be a point of emphasis. As you are drafting your papers, as we talked about with the Anne Lamott essay, okay, don't worry about self-correcting yourself as you are drafting. If you are doing the drafts well, if you are doing a first draft correctly, then nobody else is seeing it. Okay? You need to focus on correcting this error and all of your errors in the proofreading stage. Okay? So have as much second person as you want in the first draft, because I'm not going to see it. Okay? Now, a lot of students will ask me, well, why does this matter? Why does it matter that I'm using you or your? Okay, using the second person means not being specific in one's writing. Okay, and that's another thing that I want you to get into the habit of, is being as specific as possible in your writing. This is both a higher order concern as it relates to content, and it also relates to these lower order concerns as well. Okay, so instead of using the second person, I need you to use the first person, especially in the literacy narrative. And when I say first person, I of course mean those wonderful words, I, me, and my. Okay, many students have been taught that they cannot use the first person, okay, in their writing. And that is true for many essays that get written. When you're gonna if you were to take me for 1020, then I would tell you cannot use I in your papers. But we're not in 1020. You are writing a literacy narrative about yourself. I can't tell you to not write in the first person because that would be ridiculous. Okay, you should also be using the third person pronouns such as he, she, they, them, him, her, them, and also the names of the people that you are referring to or their titles or something specific. Okay, do not use the second person in your writing. All right, let's go to the next concept. Avoid starting sentences with conjunctions. What are conjunctions? For those of you who may not know, let's get into a 10-second lesson on what a conjunction is, because I'm going to boil it down for you. All right, you may have heard the term fanboys. Fanboys means for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Okay, these are the fanboys. These are the conjunctions that I'm referring to. All right, and if you look at a lot of published writing, you will notice that it is acceptable for you to start with the fanboys. Okay? But for the purposes of this class, for the purposes of academic writing, I want you to use transitional words and phrases instead. Okay? Many students talk about wanting to improve their vocabulary. This is one of the ways that I want you to improve your vocabularies. The way that you start sentences is important. And understanding how to use transitional words and phrases can make a huge difference in how you are perceived as an academic writer. So that's why I want you to use these phrases and not start sentences with conjunctions. Okay, there is a handout that I have posted which can be found under week 4, which lists the transitional words and phrases. That is literally what the title of the document is. It is a 2-page PDF that provides examples of what transitions and transitional phrases are. Download that, and you should use it not only for this class, but in future classes as well. Alright, something else that I put down, starting with the word so, is especially something to avoid, because it sounds too conversational. Do not write how you talk. And again, worry about this issue in the revision and proofreading stages of your writing, not as you are drafting your first draft. Number 3, comma splices. This is a very common mistake, and a lot of people do not understand what a comma splice is, so that is what I'm going to explain to you. From Grammarly, which is a very helpful website. Grammarly, when you join 2 independent clauses with a comma and no conjunction, it's called the comma splice. Some people consider this a type of run-on sentence, while other people think of it as a punctuation error. It does not matter what kind of error it is. The point is that you do everything you can to avoid it. How do you avoid it? There are 3 ways to fix a comma splice. You can add a conjunction, change the comma to a semicolon, or make each independent clause its own sentence by putting a period. There are many students who are allergic to semicolons. I'm not expecting you to show off your use of semicolons. If you do not know how to use one, then don't use one. Okay? But it's really, really important that you avoid comma splices so that you are not making punctuation errors. Okay? It can make your sentences difficult to read at times. Okay? But I have noticed that a number of students across all 3 classes are making this error, and I want you to become more aware of it. It is one of the easiest errors that you can fix in your writing. Okay? This is also closely related to issues of comma usage, and I'm going to talk about comma usage in another one of these videos at some point. Okay, but I don't want to overwhelm you by talking about all of the mistakes that you're making in one video. Okay, I want to cover, 4 or 5 per video and just kind of go from there. So I'm going to expand upon comma usage later on in the semester. As you read through your writing, again, the idea of proofreading and revising, that is where you address the specific issue. Don't feel like you need to address it specifically as you're drafting. Apostrophes. This is a big one. I have seen so many students use apostrophes incorrectly. And it is not just this class. It is an issue that I have seen you for years, and I don't know why this has been such a problem. Don't forget to use apostrophes, especially when it comes to possession. For example, don't say author voice. Say authors with apostrophe s at the end. If you have 2 nouns in a row and are trying to show possession, you need to remember that apostrophe. That is what that little mark there is. Okay, do not forget your apostrophes. Okay? When an author's name ends in S, you type it like this. You put S apostrophe S. I know this is weird. This is something you may not have been taught about, but this also relates to MLA style. Okay? You are not talking about somebody who is plural, like you see in Brooks's writing with the S apostrophe, but you're talking about one person, so you would say S apostrophe S. Again, I know that's weird, but that's the way that it should look. Why does this error happen? Because students often drop word endings when they speak. So this closely relates to the idea of being too conversational in one's writing. So don't forget that apostrophe. That is important. Now, the big question is, how do you avoid this? Proofread, proofread, proofread. I cannot emphasize this enough. Okay? It's not that you all cannot write. Many students think they can't write. The reality is that all students, I am talking to you, the person that is listening to this right now. If you are a member of this English 1010 class, then you do have the ability to write. I don't care what your grades have been in the past 2 weeks. Your grades are not a reflection of your inability to write. It is about what you do once you're done writing. Okay? You have to do a lot of things in order to improve yourself, but I'm going to boil it down to 2 simple rules. 1, self-discovery of mistakes through reading feedback. You have to read my feedback. Okay, I am telling you the kinds of errors that you're making and also some of the good things that you're doing as well. Okay, but if you want to improve yourself, you have to look through that feedback and identify the ways that you can improve yourself. The other thing that you need to do is to read papers multiple times out loud. All right? You have to do this. You have to read your papers out loud. A lot of these errors that I pointed out to you this time, a lot of it comes down to being able to read them out loud. Okay? I have one final thing that I want to do. So last week I gave you the opportunity for extra credit. All right? I am hoping that if you did not watch the video that last week, that you are watching it this week, because I'm giving you another opportunity to get a better grade on something. Okay? So you have the opportunity to make something up. I'm not going to talk about this in any of the rundowns, in any emails, or in any other space except this one. So pay close attention. Take the lowest graded journal entry or one-pager and redo it based off my feedback. You can take one of these assignments and make it up. One, not 2, not 3, not all, 1. I would recommend doing 1 you received a low grade or even a 0. Okay? If you turn in an assignment late and I did not accept it, or you turn in an assignment late, you may choose to turn that one in as well. So if you received a 0 or if you received half credit, you could turn that one in again and potentially get full credit. Same with the last week's video. Do not mention this offer during our virtual classroom meeting. Again, this is making sure that you are watching the videos. The makeup assignment should be directly emailed to me by Sunday, September the 13th at 10 p.m. There will be no Dropbox. This is something you need to email me by Sunday, September the 13th at 10 p.m. Okay? So any assignment, if you are unsatisfied with a grade of yours on either a journal entry or a one-pager, you have the chance to redo it. I may not do it again this semester, so take advantage of this. I will talk to you more throughout the week and for next week's video. Thank you very much.